Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and if you're new here, my name is Edward Smith and welcome to my YouTube channel. And in today's video, we're going to be looking at Amazon's cheapest MIDI keyboard, the MidiPlus AKM 320. So the question you're probably asking is, why did I go out of my way and purchase Amazon's cheapest MIDI keyboard? And the honest answer to that question is, for about 2 weeks now, I've been looking at Amazon's cheapest home studio gear, trying to figure out exactly if home studio gear is worth purchasing, especially when it starts going under $50. And I know that a lot of you are on a budget of doing your entire home studio setup under $100, maybe under $200, and you can't afford to even buy a budget $100 MIDI keyboard because that takes up half your budget. So it doesn't even make sense to look at those type of gear, even though it's good quality products for your specific setup, for your specific budget. It just doesn't make sense. So I've decided to look at all of these really budget studio gear that you can find on Amazon, and in today's video we're focusing on a budget MIDI keyboard that costs only $30, which is the MidiPlus AKM 320. And I was really intrigued by this MIDI keyboard because it comes with 32 keys, where most of your $100 MIDI keyboards that are made by AKM or Stereo Innovation, they have 25 keys. So you're getting 32 keys with this MIDI keyboard. You're not getting any drum pads or anything like that. So if you're a beat maker and you want to use drum pads to make your beats, you're not going to get that out of this MIDI keyboard. You're going to have to go to the Moon World Day, which costs around $50, $60, which starts bringing in drum pads at a budget price. But at this specific price range, you're not going to get drum pads. But if you're starting out as a producer and you just want to have the accessibility of having keys to be more creative and have a better workflow instead of putting keys in and fiddling around with keys with your mouse and stuff like that, this is a great place to start. But without any further ado, let's get this MIDI keyboard unboxed and see what it's all about. So as you unbox this MIDI keyboard, the first thing that you get is your MidiPlus AKM 320 owner's manual, which tells you everything you need to know of getting everything started. It's quite basic because you have to keep in mind that this MIDI keyboard only costs $30, which means you're not going to have all these crazy knobs and 1,000 buttons. It's quite basic and quite limited, so it's not going to take a whole day to learn how this thing works. It's pretty simple, 10 minutes and you'll know exactly what's going on. And then you also get your cable, which is a standard printer cable that connects to your laptop via a USB-A port, which is pretty much the standard connection for all MIDI keyboards. And then we get our MidiPlus AKM 320 MIDI keyboard. And in terms of first impressions, I'm actually quite surprised by the features that you do get with this MIDI keyboard at $30. You have your standard pitch and modulation wheel, which does feel quite plasticky. It's really not the best quality at all. It feels very, very cheap, but at $30, that is no surprise. You also have your volume fader and your classic up and down octave buttons and an up and down transpose button, which is really nice because with your newest MIDI keyboards like the AKM MPK Mini MK3 and the Novation Launch Key Mini MK3, they don't come with transpose buttons, which is a little bit of a letdown because it's really nice to just jump up a semitone or two semitones if you're producing and just hear what your sound sounds like, two semitones up or two semitones down. It just allows you to have a little bit more control, especially if you're not a piano player. And in terms of the feel of this MIDI keyboard, it's quite light. The keys are very hard. They aren't as soft as your AKM MPK Mini MK3 or Novation, obviously, because those MIDI keyboards cost $130. This MIDI keyboard costs $30. So you can't expect that same quality, but it's not terrible. Out of 10, I would rate the keys maybe about a 4 or 5. So not the worst, but Perfect for someone on a budget that can only afford $30-40 for a MIDI keyboard, but you want to move away from having to use a mouse to be creative with your melodies and start playing with the unique creativity you can get with a MIDI keyboard. So for my final overview of this MidiPlus AKM 320, I have to say that I'm quite surprised at the quality that you're getting for a $30-35 MIDI keyboard. The fact that you're getting 32 keys is amazing for anyone starting out as a producer, looking to move from using their mouse in their melodies to being more creative on a keybed of a MIDI keyboard. Having that extra transpose button that even more expensive MIDI keyboards don't have is another additional feature. You don't have the drum pads, but at $30, I don't think anybody can give you drum pads on a MIDI keyboard at that price. You have your modulation, your pitch wheel, you have extra sustain input that I don't think this MIDI keyboard would have at this price range, which is also, in my opinion, another additional feature. And overall, it's a light MIDI keyboard. It fits perfectly in a backpack. The keybed isn't amazing, but it's not terrible that makes it any way unplayable. It's really a great product for $30. I would use this MIDI keyboard if I was on a real tight budget. It's not going to let you down. It plays very nicely. And like I said, it does have its letdowns, but at $30, you can't really ask for too much. So that brings this video to an end of the unboxing and review of Amazon's cheapest MIDI keyboard, the MidiPlus AKM 320. And if you guys enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, comment down below, give it a like. And if you loved it, subscribe down below. And I will see you for another video next time.